And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I always do every day. How are you guys doing? And it's a new day. It's a new day. It's April. Is it April 8th already? Holy moly. Where is the time going? It's going too fast. The time is going too fast. Do you feel like you're on a express train? Do you feel like you're on an express train? I do. I feel like I'm on an express train going, well, I guess going somewhere fast. So, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing? I see you guys are in the building. Today is our Touch Base Daily, and it's our Tip Tuesday. And so today we're going to be talking about. Hold on a second. Let me include the Instagrammers on here. Let me just give a one moment so I can get the Instagrammers in here for some reason. There we go. There's that screen I was looking for. Okay, there we go. The Instagrammers are now patched in. Yes, so we are going to be talking about today something that is very, very important to you guys. I know it is because it's important to me. Photography on a budget, maximizing your smartphone's capabilities. So that's what we'll be talking about today. For photographing on a budget and maximizing your smartphones. Okay, so we'll be doing that later in the last half hour of this show today. And but the first part of the show, we're gonna be just talking, we're just gonna be chatting. Also, if you want to pop on, the QR code is there. You're more than welcome in the community. Come on, I just want to have a free day today. If you want to talk about what's going on in the country, what's happening. The market is up. I do believe the market is back up today, but that doesn't mean it's coming back all the way. It's got a long way to go. We lost almost like 18% of the market. It's up 3% today. So just a little hope. There's little glimmers of hope. People are marching. People are protesting in the red states. So that's a good thing as well. So there is some hope. So we need the glimmers of hope. We need glimmers of hope because we need to have our sanity back with all the craziness that's going on in the world. But let's say good morning to some folks in the building. Make sure if you are in the building, also make sure you hit the likes. Make sure you hit the likes. It lets people know that we are on. When you hit the likes, it generates into the system. It says, oh, people are looking at this program. People are over here. And so hit the likes every time you enter in. Also, if you would be so kind to even share it. Share this platform with your friends. Share with the people that think can be benefited by what we talk about here. Okay. Let's start with some hellos. It is the first person in the building with the gold medal today is our wonderful Danette Williams is in the building. She says, good morning, everyone. Then we have Kelly A is in the building. Kelly A is in the building. Good morning, everyone. She says with the silver today. And we have with the bronze is Jazzy Jazz. Good morning, beautiful people, she says. And then we have wonderful Hannah. She's all rested up from her basement duties. In your business, all in the streets, Hannah. She says, good morning, Ron and Touch Base Daily family. And we have Aya. What's going on, Aya? Aya knows that when we do the Tip Tuesday, because Aya, Aya is one of the folks that literally, she's a Patreon member, and she goes in and looks at the lessons because she wants to become a better photographer. So she does it. She takes those tips and she runs with them. Also, Bryson's in the building. Mr. Bryson Leach. What's up, Ron? What's up, RLP fam? What's up, CQ fam? And happy TKBS Tuesday. Nice. Oh, look who's in the building. Sunny Boy's in the building. Adrian, Mr. Adrian Florence is in the building. He says, yeah. Like a year as I'm trying to wake up, or is that a year? The day is just moving along. And Cassandra is in the building, and I tell you, she says, blessed tenacious Tuesday, all looking forward to Tip Tuesday. See, Tip Tuesdays, we get those lessons. We get those free lessons. Some of my students pay. Yes. And we'll talk about that later as well. Daisy's in the middle. She says, hello, Ron. Hello, Daisy. And Charlene is in the building. Charlene says, good morning. So how you guys doing? Everybody's here. Hey, Dr. Tachi, bonjour. Bonjour, Dr. Tachi. And let's see who's over in the Instagram world. Okay, some of the Instagram folks popped in on Instagram and then came on over. I see Glamour Me is over in Instagram. Come on over to our YouTube channel. There you have it. Okay, so what is going on in the world? What would you like to talk about today? Well, I know that I remember yesterday, just to kind of like highlight something that probably was like lightly shared in the media yesterday, and that is the meeting between Trump and Netanyahu. Did y'all see some of that coverage yesterday? Just a little bit of that coverage. Now, it is allegedly, I think I brought this up to you guys last week. Maybe it was Friday. That we need to be aware of something that's happening. War is allegedly on the horizon. Now, you may say, oh, Israel's at war already on the Gaza Strip. I don't know if we can call that a war. It's more like a slaughter. However, remember I mentioned to you that Malcolm Nance, and I shared some of the video, just a piece of it from his page, of 1/3 of our Air Force bombers have been moved over closer to Iran. We also have an aircraft carrier moving into the region. You don't move an aircraft carrier into the region without a purpose. And according to Malcolm Nance, who used to be and still is an intelligence gatherer that used to work for the United States and still works in some capacity, says we're heading to war. Which also, when you know history, tariffs and in war, they have a connection. A connection. And so keep your eyes on the news on that information. There was a reason why Netanyahu was here in DC yesterday. I mean, and then, like I mentioned to you on Friday, that this was coming. And according to Malcolm Nance, what did Trump say yesterday? We want Iran to get into order, or if they don't, it's not going to be too good for them. Paraphrasing. We are slowly moving towards war, allegedly. But there's no other reason why Netanyahu would be in DC, because it is Netanyahu that has been pushing Trump to do something about the Iranian nuclear problem. And Netanyahu has always wanted to go and invade Iran. But most American presidents in the past have said, no, we are not going to cross that line. We are not going to cross that line. But we also know that Trump and Netanyahu are two peas in a pod. And they kind of like stroke each other's egos. So keep alert. As we Black folks like to say, stay woke. Stay woke. Because you think the tariffs are bad. You haven't seen, for those that know history says it can get really bad during war times. So just keep it on your radar. Keep it on your radar. I'm not sure if you guys have heard the information. Have you guys heard the news yesterday? Were you watching the news? It kind of like I said, it wasn't like broadcast on the mainstream media. I mean, CNN did mention it. And MSNBC, they did mention it. It was on ABC Evening News. And we talked about it on Friday. And we saw it happening yesterday. So, remember, just because you don't see it on the news, well, hello, a lot of things that are happening in the world are not on mainstream media. You have to do your own investigation, and you have to know your resources. Like I am a big fan for Malcolm Nance. So how about let's share a little bit about Malcolm Nance. What's his statement? Yesterday he came out and shared some stuff, but I like to, so that way you can know who Malcolm Nance is. Malcolm Nance, let me get that. And he talks about Pearl Harbor and tariffs and all that stuff, but we're going to go into near the end of the conversation. And Trump's economic Pearl Harbor on America. That's the title of his share.
The United States is a raging hero. But we are in Pearl Harbor. Our economy is on fire and sinking. Many aspects of it have exploded, taking everyone down with it. Trillions upon trillions of billions are now gone. And Donald Trump's followers are nothing but kamikazes, swearing their loyalty to the emperor, saying how awesome it was to destroy our own world and to attack the rest of the world. The problem is, like Pearl Harbor, that was the first wave. It's going to be a second wave. Could be a third wave. Trump said if tomorrow China does not acquiesce to his demands, he will impose another 50%, raising tariffs 104%. On the American public, you idiot. That's Walmart. Everything in Walmart's from China. All the prices will rise 105%. And Trump voters all live in the Walmart. I'm pointing to it because I can see it from where I live. The question here is not, do we just cry, right? Refloat the sunken assets of the American economy and fight back with steely resolve. I think we will. The real question is, 6 months, by the way, little history lesson, after Pearl Harbor, almost 7, U.S. code breakers found the key to the Japanese naval code, the JN-25. And we're reading Japan's traffic in almost real time. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, the United States surprise attacked the people who attacked Pearl Harbor. And that was the Battle of Midway. What will be our Midway? It's not the 2026 election. It is time for the American people to rise up as a body and show their displeasure. And I don't just mean marching. You got to march all the time, every time. We're trying to reach that 3.5% threshold, which is 12.5 million people, or just 20% of the people that voted for Kamala Harris. You have to turn out on these days of protest. And we need to give Donald Trump his midway. I recommend July 4th, 2025 is the day we take America back. We show him that a critical nucleus of America is getting ready to turn the other 90 million people that didn't vote in 2026 on him and force him not just to resign, force him to put back what he broke. We need to make every Republican congressman from a swing district consider defecting to the Democratic Party and swinging the United States House of Representatives back to the Democrats and democracy out of loyalty and love of the American public. That will be midway. That's what we should be fighting for. Every one of you needs to take this into your heart. Your lives are now burning and smoldering. Your 401ks are 001ks. Many of you are going to lose everything in your life. Everything that you invested. Many of you are going to have to work into your 80s. My heart breaks for you. I am an American fighting man. I am empathetic to you. First step, we need to start working towards midway. Thanks for listening to this episode of Black Man Spy. I'm sorry I had to bring it to you. But by God, keep a lookout because crazier things are on the horizon. War with Iran is looming. An invasion, an occupation, and seizure of Greenland is coming. Just today, the Washington Post announced that Trump has done a secret study on how to economically absorb Greenland into the United States. How to bring those 57 people and take away their health care. This is going to affect you because there is no one in the world that will trade with us the day after we invade another NATO ally and seize an island the size of the entire half of the United States and steal it. Be prepared. Thanks for watching.
So I just wanted you to get to hear that, the end of that. There's a whole bunch in it before, but this is where we are in American history. And again, we also know that if he does invade Greenland, if he invades Greenland, that is a declaration of war against NATO. But how does that all work out? America is a member of NATO. But Russia used to be a member of NATO. So we are in very uncharted waters. And I'm not bringing this to make you feel sad. I'm bringing this to make you be alert of what's happening around you. Right? We have our jobs. We have the things that we're doing. We're going to go about our days. Every day, we're going to do all the best that we can do. We're going to have faith. We're going to we're going to pray. We're going to support our families. We're going to be there. But in the middle of all of that, we have to keep our eyes on the ball. We have to know what's going on. And putting your head in the sand is not an option. You know, it's not an option. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And so I just wanted you guys to hear that because two things are on the table right now and being drawn. It really is three. There's the drawing up of the plans that you see Netanyahu came to America yesterday to figure out or solidify what they're going to do with Iran. And there's a lot of indications that this is happening within a week. Some other platforms are predicting in the next week or 2 weeks. So, so these are things to look forward to because it's going to change the way we live in America for the rest of our lives. I mean, there is hope. People are protesting. People are protesting around the streets. We talked about that yesterday. All of the people protesting in all these different states. They were out by the thousands and thousands and thousands this past weekend. And we also talked about Black folks weren't in those crowds. Black people are working behind the scenes. And then some Black folks are upset that other Black folks are not out there doing their thing. I got a message. Hold on a second. Oh. Adrian's talking to me by text. And so this is where we are. So guys, keep your eyes on what's going on. Again, recommend it. I will give you some recommendations. Rachel Maddow did a great story last night. If you are into MSNBC, check that out. Did a great job on that, talking about all the protests and all the people. Don Lemon this morning had a great conversation on the different layers of people working towards democracy, and that there are some glimmers of hope, because we're seeing in the Republican states, people are starting to wake up. However, though, sad to say, and like Malcolm said, and Don Lemon said this morning, and Rachel said last night, the Trump people, the MAGA folks, they are in it. They don't, even though they're losing everything, they are going to stick with this man no matter what, until probably it hits them. So this is where we are. What are your thoughts? Okay, let me see what you guys are saying in here. Let's go. Hey, I see Anthony says, good morning. Anthony is in the building. Anthony Rowland says, beautiful. Good morning, beautiful people. Lisa's in the building. She says, good morning, everyone. And Danette says, I heard it mentioned on ABC News. Yes. Okay. And Kaz says, in news and some other sources, they are going to give what they want us to know and what benefits the narrative. There are surface and also underlying info. Also, Cass says, rewrite the narrative 100%, not repeat it. And I see here, Jazz says to Kaz, yep, which is why I look for news sources outside of the U.S. Jazzy and I are always, I would say 99% on the same page. There, Sky News is okay. I used to look at Sky News a lot, and I still do a lot of Sky News. But Sky News is owned by the Murdochs, so it's not like it used to be. But you still have resources overseas that you can get lots of good news. You can get good news from the BBC. You can get lots of great news overseas. If you want to know what's going on in America, you probably invest your time. You'll be wise to invest your time in listening to news overseas, because they don't have a bias for the most part. Right? So Jazzy makes a great point. Yes, Jazzy. Looking at the news overseas is so important. Let me see. Where did did I get lost on my? It seems like this feed always changes where I am. Okay, here we go. Trump being a puppet is annoying me. Daisy says, I'm listening at work. I can't read comments. And Janet says, is that we need to revitalize our steel industry war? Is that why we can't back up Ukraine? Just asking. I don't know the answer to that one, Janet. I do not know. I just know that if you want manufacturing to come back to your country, war is usually how it's done, because you have to build factories. You have to declare I forgot what they call it, the War Act. And if you could declare the War Act, then you can take funds and build factories and warehouses towards the war. So Yes. La, 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 la. Let's see here. Kelly says, good morning. We got Kelly. Oh, it went back all the way back there. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Danette says, Jazzy, I gave up on the endeavor. It appears to be a lost cause. Dr. Tachi says, and to those Black people that are upset, I say, shut up. You go march. Yeah, there were some folks out there on the TikTok. Not a lot. It was a couple of people, just a couple of people saying, we need to be out there. Why aren't you out there? And it was kind of like, so it's trying to not be insulting, but it's insulting to all the folks that stayed home this weekend. Yeah. Jelly said, it's something that has been bothering me since 2008. I've seen this coming since the Obama administration. It was clearly in our face. Mimi says, yeah, people mentioned they did not see the police presence in all the crowds because they did not see the Black and brown. They don't understand. We have been there and done that. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. How when you looked across all of these protests around the country, there were no police, or if there were police, they were very much off the sides. No riot gear, no gas guns, no fighting the protesters, no intimidation like they did in Black Lives Matter. Which was a protest for justice. Daisy says, "What about BBC? BBC is a good source, a good source of news. BBC." Anthony says, "BBC is my go-to. I only do Sky Sports." Derek says, "BBC has no dog in the fight. Love their news." There we go. There's some agreements here. Bryson says the Simpsons is coming once it comes. His time will be coming. Yes, there is a Simpson prediction. Have you guys heard about the Simpson predictions? That's another story for another day, right? And Elise says, good morning, everyone. And Hannah says, good morning. Sorry, good happy morning, Derek. And okay, we're all caught up. And I see all the good morning. So there we are. That's some news. I just wanted to give you some of the news. We're going to dive right into our lesson for today. We're going to just get that out the way. And if you have any questions, because today's going to be a little longer than normal. And it's because I want you to really get this in. And I want to try to end a little early today. I have to go to run a couple of errands. So I can't stay on here too long. And so we're going to do that. And I see Derek says, George Floyd protests, whole different animal. Exactly. I see here also, Janice says, DW equals German news is another good news source. Yes. Yes, Janet. And Bryson says, I heard it all the time. And Lisa says, April 12th. April 12th. What's it, Lisa? What's April 12th? What is April 12th? I don't know what's going on April 12th. Okay, so there we go. So let's talk about some photography. How about that? Okay, are you guys good with that? Are you guys, we're a community. So are you good with that? Are you ready for some photography? And you want to continue on chatting about what's going on in the world. But like I said, I'll put some lists again. Rachel Maddow's talks about the protests around the country. Oh, that's what it was. Yes. The Simpsons prediction that Trump will be hospitalized, and I think it's his demise, the Simpsons says, right? On April 12th is the demise of Donald Trump. Why people have been I'm just going to give you a glance over, is that there have been certain predictions that have happened over the years, over the decades, because Simpsons has been around for a long time. And there's this whole mystery thing of mystery talk about how do the Simpsons know about certain things that are happening in the future that weren't on the scenes when they did the actual cartoon, the show, and they've been interesting predictions of the future. So they call them the Simpson predictions. Daisy says, wouldn't that be something? Yeah. So let's talk some photography, right, Anthony? Anthony says, get the cameras going. Let's get our notebooks out. Let's get our notebooks out and let's talk some photography. Today is photography on a budget, maximizing your smartphone's capabilities. Before we go there, I just want to also make sure I bring up the banners so that way you'll know. Also, if you join the email listing, just go to our website, my website, ronlewisphotos.com. Sign up for the email listing so that way I can reach you if I need to outside of this platform if it happens to not be here in the future, because we don't know how these platforms will linger or not in the future. So be there. Also, I am an event photographer. I do corporate photography and also personal events. And also, just so you know, we have a Patreon membership here in this community, and they are the ones that support what we do here. So become a Patreon member. If you get something out of this platform, become a Patreon member. Donate, share, commute, and then on that platform, all these lessons, every single lesson is on the Patreon page, so you can check that out and get all the lessons, that everything that we've covered. And last but not least, Photograph Your World. I do virtual basic photography 101. If you want private lessons on photography, reach out to me and I can get that to you. We can work on a schedule like I do with most of my clients. We work with your schedule. I work with your schedule, so that way we can teach according to your cadence and your needs. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, now we are back. We are back with our wonderful photography on a budget, maximizing your smartphone's capabilities. Okay, next, you know what I always say. First thing first, clean your lens. You can always get these nice little cloths at any eyeglass place in your area. Like, just go in and say, hey, do you have a lens, wiper, that one of those clean, like little cloths for your lens, really for your glasses. Go as many as you want. You can go to every one of the shops in town and get them for free. And anytime you get ready to take a photo, like when I'm photographing people, or someone gives me their phone and they say, oh, can you take a picture of me? Can you take a picture of my family and I say, did you clean your lens? Oh, really? Oh, I never thought about cleaning my lens. And you take that lens, you take this little guy, clean that front lens, clean it, and clean the back one. Give it a nice cleaning. And then your lens is nice and clean. The first step of great photography is a clean lens. As it says, your first step is to wipe the lens clean, free of dust and fingerprints. A clean lens is the secret to crisp, clear images. I always tell you about the story that I was hanging out with friends in Austin, Texas. We were all eating, and all the family members were like, Ron, you're the photographer in the building. Why are my pictures so cloudy? And then I went in my pocket and I took this out and said, do you clean your lens? And she's the woman that asked the question. She said, never clean my lens. There is your problem. Okay, so make sure you clean your lens. That's the first step. Clean your lens. Next, harness natural light. The best camera is often nature's own. Shoot during the golden hours, early morning or late afternoon, to give your photos warmth and dynamic shadows. If shooting indoors, position your subject near a window to let soft, natural light accentuate the scene. Now, a lot of this for some folks in this is going to be repeat. You guys already know some of this stuff because we talk about it in many layers of the lessons that we shared on Tip Tuesdays. So it's like a combination of a lot of lessons in one. And we talked about when, and so I want to know from you, since some of you have been here with me for the longest, right? For the longest, what time of the day is the golden hour? What time of the day is the golden hour? Students, don't all rush, but someone give me the answer. Yes, you all know the answer. I know you know the answer because I talk about it all the time. Right? What is the golden hour? Any student in the building? Any student in the building? What is the golden hour? The golden hour. Yep. What is the golden hour, y'all? What's the golden hour? Anyone in the building? Anyone? One. Hey, there we go. Dr. Tachi. Ding, ding, ding. She says 1 hour before sunrise and 1 hour before sunset. Let me just make a correction. Make a correction. You're almost there, Dr. Tachi. You're almost there. 1 hour after sunrise. 1 hour after sunrise and 1 hour before sunset. Okay, so you got that one. But 1 hour after sunrise and 1 hour before sunset. So a lot of times when I have my clients and they say, "Oh, Ron, we're gonna do a photo shoot. We're gonna get that headshot. I'm gonna do the headshot." And they go, "What time do you want us to meet you?" I said, "Around sunrise." And they go, "What? I gotta be there at sunrise?" I said, "If you want a great picture, you want to be there around sunrise. We'll get you all set up. And about roughly an hour, just slightly an hour after sunrise, we are going to do the photo shoot." Because you have a little window, right? And we just knock out the photos. And then they go, "Ron, these photos are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at my skin. I look so good." And you know, we've already talked about this. Everybody looks good at sunrise and near the hour of sunset. Everyone looks good. The way the light falls on your skin makes everyone look beautiful. Now, I know there's some, Adrian, don't say anything if you're still in the building because I know you got jokes. I know Adrian has jokes on that statement, but everybody looks good at sunrise and sunset. Okay. Charlene says sunrise, sunset. Mimi says sunset. And then, yes, Dr. Tati made a correction. She says, "Sorry, after sunrise." Yes. And then Anthony says, "That's right. Great photos are earned." Right, Anthony? Anthony's a fellow photographer. They're earned. And Lisa says, "My living room has the best light at 5:30 p.m. Exactly. You want to take a big show. So Lisa will know. If she's going to take a picture of a family member, she's going to prop them near her window and take that shot. And it's going to be beautiful because she knows the best light is at 5:30, probably right now, because that's going to change. Remember, sunrise changes every day. It gets longer and longer depending on the time it is, or it's earlier and earlier. So remember, it's going to change according to the season and where you are in the season. So 5:30 is midday in the summertime, but in this wintertime, it's dark. Okay, just had to say that. And I see it here. Okay, most probably myself, says says our wonderful Lisa. Okay, go on to the next one. And again, this gentleman's at the window and get nice silhouette, slight partial silhouette, looking out into the city. Good shot. Okay, master your native camera settings. We talked about this. So here's something to help you to keep your photography. You have all the tools. Here we go. Tap on focus. Did we talk about that last week? Tap to focus. Learn to tap on your subject so your camera locks in the perfect focus and exposure. We talked about this last week. We did a whole lesson on this last week. When you take your finger and you put your finger on the subject, it tells the smartphone to focus in. Don't just take out your camera and take a shot. Take out your camera, put your finger on the subject. The camera will adjust and make that portion of the screen, that portion that you're taking a picture, the subject, sharp. It will adjust the exposure to give you the best photo for the subject. Your index finger, remember we talked about that last week? Your index finger is part of your photography. Your photography, use that index finger and point onto your subjects on the screen, and you will get perfect focus and exposure. Okay, so you see that. Next, grid lines. You know I talked about that 1,000 times. Enable grid lines to easily apply the rule of thirds. This small adjustment transforms ordinary shots into visually compelling compositions. Right? The grid lines. Go into your phone, whether it's an Apple phone or a Android. Go into settings, and there's a little section that says grid lines on or off. Grid lines on or off. Turn on your grid lines. I do not photograph without grid lines. Why? Let's show the grid lines. Now you see these grid lines, right? You see these grid lines? It creates what's called 9 boxes. 9 boxes, right? However, there are only 4 points of connection. 4 points. We call it the focal points. Right here, right here, right here, and right here, right? 4 points. Your subject should fall upon one of these points. So if you are taking a picture of a person, then that person should fall, their eyeball should fall here, their eyeball could fall here. If you want to be make something interesting, you can have the eyeball fall here, or you can take their nose, wherever your subject, part of your subject should land on one of these intersecting lines for a good composition. Can I say that again? Your subject should land on one of these intersecting lines for better composition. Also, why do you use the grid? You can see your horizon line. So for instance, if you're doing landscape photography and you're at the beach and you see, there's a horizon and there's landscape, you can use this bottom portion for your horizon. And you can land your horizon and keep your, most people have these like lopsided pictures when they do landscape photos or when they do cityscape photos. To prevent lopsided photos, use the line, use your grid. And you can, again, change the composition by either putting the horizon on this line or bringing the horizon up to this line, right? And that is how you control your composition. Okay, where's in the bill? I see in here. Good morning, good mornings. And Mimi says, The photo in my profile was at sunset. Love the reflections on water at sunset. Yes. Anthony says, when I shoot real estate, grid lines and the green horizon line is a must. There you go. Another photographer telling you it is so important. Most of us photographers, I don't, not all photographers use grid lines, but most of us do. Most of us use the grid. Turn on the grid and land your subject on one of these points, and you will have a better photo. Next, manual adjustments. Some smartphones offer manual controls or pro mode for brightness, shutter speed, and ISO. Experiment with these settings to adapt to various lighting conditions. When you go onto your phone and you take out that camera and you look at the bottom of the camera, you see there's a list of items that you can scroll through: cinema, time lapse, video, photo, portraits, spatial, and pano. You can adjust according to what you're photographing with the manual modes that you have on your camera. But if you want to take total control of your camera, meaning you want to control your shutter speed and your ISO, you can do that in pro mode in an Android and also in your Apple phone. Okay, go into pro mode. Okay, there you go. You can control your photography. Okay, next, embrace free editing apps. We've talked about that, right? Free editing apps. A little post-processing can work wonders. Apps like Snapseed, you heard me say this 1,000 times, Snapseed, or Lightroom Mobile are free and offer powerful editing tools to enhance exposure, contrast, and color without extra gear. A few thoughtful tweaks can dramatically improve your image impact. One person asked me a question years ago. Do you always edit your photos before posting? Now, I would have to say, up until this year, that was the truth. I pretty much edit every photo. However, I am finding I have this Apple Pro 16 Pro, I should say. It is so good at figuring out exposure. It has been blowing my mind on how good this camera is operating. Shout out to the Apple people, because I used to never trust an Apple phone because they were never better than Androids, like a Samsung. The Samsungs had the best cameras in the smartphone industry. There are now many great smartphone cameras in the industry. So you don't always have to use the editing tool, but you might want to if you want to really make that photo like extra beautiful, cropping it, adjusting it, changing the contrast, because you might have a style that you like and you can create. That's what you can use these apps for: Snapseed, Lightroom. Also, when I'm doing in the middle of, like when I was in the middle of protests and I wanted to send photos and say, I'm going to send this to ABC News, CBS, I would do it quickly on a Snapseed, using Snapseed, and then hashtag them and put, and if they wanted to use it, they could use it. Or I put them in my posting. So Snapseed, Lightroom, use those for your phone. And I'll also say, in your phone, you do have editing capability with the phone itself. Okay. Experiment with angles and compositions. We talked about that. Creativity is your only limit. Play with different angles. Look for interesting reflections. And don't be afraid to center an unconventional subject. Even a simple change in perspective can make an everyday scene extraordinary. Remember, I was saying get low or shoot from above. Everyone shoots straight on. So that means that's a regular photo, right? That's an ordinary photo. Anyone can shoot straight on. But your photo becomes interesting when you take it from a different perspective. That you move to the left, you move to the right, you go low and shoot up, you go from above and shoot down. Change your perspective will give you better photography. Better photography. You'll have better pictures. People will think you are a professional photographer because of these tips. And you're not spending any extra money to do it. People say, oh, I need the greatest gear. No, you do not. You got the greatest gear. These great inventions called smartphones, and they do a heck of a lot. As a matter of fact, some of the most amazing photo shoots today, movies are done on smartphones. Scenes that you think are part of regular big camera movies or photography, covers on certain magazines, smartphones. So use them, but also be creative with them, right? Look for the unordinary, right? Here we go. Look at that. Look at that photo. It's a silhouette. Kid playing with the soccer ball or the football. If you're overseas and not in America, it's just called simply the football. Get low. Look up. Or just create a little foreground. You see the person's hair on the left-hand side, kind of like gives a little anchor. It's like, we call that foreground. It makes the picture a little more interesting. It makes you feel like you are right there by adding foreground. We'll do a topic on that. We'll do a whole subject on that at some point this year. Foreground is important to images. They say the perfect photo is one that has foreground and background, and then your subject is beautifully photographed. You need background and foreground to create a wonderful story. A bit more to ponder. You don't need a treasure trove of expensive gear to tell your story. Sometimes the limitations of a smartphone can spark unexpected creativity. Experiment with light trails in low light settings or play with vibrant reflections in puddles. Right, Janet? Janet knows about those reflections in the puddles, reflections off buildings, reflections off the windows. These techniques can become signature elements of your visual narrative. By focusing on storytelling through composition and light, you transform everyday moments into unforgettable images. I gotta say that last part again. By focusing on storytelling through composition and light, you transform everyday moments into unforgettable images. So important. So important. I see here, Anthony says, thank you, Dr. Tatiana and Hannah. I builder that I haven't talked to a 3-year called me out nowhere, asked me to photograph a building. They did, and it's been on since. He's a photographer. fellow photographer. You want to hear something really interesting? I have a friend, and Omar. Omar is working at a corporation now and doing his thing. But when Omar is out on the streets, when we were hanging out, when he was here in New York, I observed him doing this everywhere we went. And he would take out his smartphone and he would be taking the most amazing shots of architecture all over the city, just taking these amazing shots of architecture. And then he would post these photos of architecture that he shot with his phone. And do you know, couple of companies reached out to him and say, hey, could you do some architectural photography for us? So don't underestimate the power you have in your hand. He loves architecture. So he takes photos of everything architecture. With you with Omar, he's photographing every building, every city skyline. That's how he rolls. But that may not be your thing. That, as they say, that may not be your jam. You might like taking pictures of flowers. Everywhere you go, take pictures of flowers and start building a portfolio. Maybe go and put an Instagram page together, just nothing but flowers. Your flowers taken by your smartphone. Someone might reach out and say, you know what? This girl is good with taking pictures of flowers. I'm a florist. I need someone to come in and take pictures of flowers. It could open up avenues for you. So here we are talking about budget, right? Taking photos on a budget. But now taking that and also making money from it or from your passion, because eventually what happens is people see your passion in the work that you're posting. And then they will give you a call. May not be a lot. It may not be a whole 100 people calling you at one time, but someone will call you and say, I've been watching how you take photos of such and such. Could I hire you to do it for my business? The power of your smartphone. And I guarantee you, if you take this one lesson I'm sharing with you today, your photography will improve 100%. If you didn't know none of this stuff, and now you apply all of it, your photography will improve 100%. And it will open doors for you. Anthony said, and there's my Janet. Janet says, yes, Ron, I look. Yes. She looks for, when we are hanging out, when Janet and I are hanging out in the streets of New York, she'll see a reflection in the mirror and she'll be drawn, not the mirror, in a window. I see her just slide away. I said, I know she caught a reflection somewhere. Everyone has their thing. Find your niche. You'll be surprised at what you can do with it. Anthony says, Omar has been schooling me on architectural photography. He's now the lead photographer of an architectural firm here in Dallas. And the reason is because that's what he does. He posts all his architectural photos, and this company saw him and say, hey, can we hire you? Anything's possible. Mimi says architectural photography is very popular. Mimi also says, or a YouTube page. Remember the show Sunrise Earth. So guys, next, and then we're going to keep pushing boundaries and let each shot inspire you to look at the world with fresh inventive eyes. Happy shooting. And here's to turning your budget limitations into creative strengths. And if you want to go an extra mile, if you want to go an extra mile, if you're curious about diving deeper, consider exploring long exposure techniques using your phone with the right apps and steady hand or a simple tripod. Get some of these little guys, right? I got these little, well, these are my, we got all these little toys to play with, right? Hold on a second. Let me get this other toy up here. Here we go. Oops, there we go. We got all these toys to play with your smartphone and gadgets that you can use to control your phone in other ways of using other techniques in photography. There you have it. Any questions? Any questions, class? You have a Q&A section right now. You have Q&A. You have a moment of Q&A. We are good. We're on time. I knew it was going to take a little longer. So I said, let me go in because it was a combination of many lessons that we've been going over. Right? So I hope you learned something today. Oh, you know how I like to roll. Put in the comment box one thing you learned. Put in the comment box one thing you learned. And if you're here for the first time, make sure you hit the likes. Make sure you hit the like. As they say, I learned a new term this weekend. Smash the like. Smash the like. Jazzy says, no questions, but this, as always, was great. Dr. Tachi says, this was wonderful. Jazzy, she gets the applause. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? This is your time. I'm here for you. I am here for you. Okay. Okay. Janet says, fab. Fab. Yes, Janet is a reflection. She'd be looking for those puddles, looking for the water, looking for the wall, looking for the glass door, looking for the glass window, looking for the windows, she is. We're both the same way because I look for the reflections everywhere. I'm looking for reflections all over the city. We live in a great city. New York City has lots of shadows and lights. Lots of areas all over the city where there's lots of light and lots of shadows, and a combination of both, because we have these beautiful big buildings that light is reflecting off of. So there we go. Mimi says, angles are everything. Let me check these buildings out. Yes, yes. Check out those buildings. Yes. Dr. Tati says, I love how you said to experiment with light trails. Yes, because a natural phenomena with smartphones is that because of the way the lenses are set in the phone, you get these natural beams and trails, light trails. You get also what we call sunbeams. If you shoot at different angles, you'll get these beautiful trails of light, especially during sunrise and sunsets, which enhance the photo and make the photo a little bit more cinematic, more drama. Danette says, because of you, I have become more adventurous with my phone features. That's what it's about, Danette. That's right. That's why I do this. That's why I do it. Aya says, thank you, Ron. Don't underestimate the power you have in your hand. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hannah says, the best time to take photos. That's what she learned. The best time to take photos. There you go. Any others? Any others? Any others out there? Okay. So, Derek says, I learned to make the subject on the line of the grid. That's right. Take that grid, use your grid, put your subject on the intersecting lines. You have 4 of them in the grid. 4 of them in the grid. Yes, thank you, Derek. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else out there? Anyone else? Did you learn something? Who else learned something? Who else learned something today? Let me see if anyone in the Instagram world learn anything today. Okay, I just see join. How was your assignment? Assignment was great, BL. Brooklyn Lynn's over in Instagram. Yes, my assignment went well. Took a lot of photos and yeah, so I'm getting those ready for my clients today. So they'll be able to have them by the end of the workday. So they will have their photos. It was a big project, a very big project, but worth every moment of it. And I use these tips every day in my work. Every day in my work, I use these tips as an event photographer because I do event photography. I teach, but I do mostly event photography. That's how I make my money. Right? Daisy says, I learned about foreground. Let's definitely have a future class on that. Foreground is, so how about this? Next week, we'll do foreground. That sounds like a good idea. We'll do foreground, the importance of foreground in your pictures. Can I show, let me see if I can do that. Hold on a second. I've been working on, let me see. I could share this with you. I'm sure I could do that with you. I could share. Hold on. This is from the project I'm working on. Oh, there's a question. There's a question. It says, please suggest the best hashtags for emerging photographers. Ooh. Well, the typical ones are photography, hashtag photo, hashtag landscape, if it's a landscape, hashtag cityscape, hashtag whatever the subject is you're doing, hashtag it. So always put in your hashtag photography, hashtag photo, and then hashtag whatever you are photographing. Hashtag horse, hashtag hat, hashtag reflections, hashtag. So those are your main hashtags. Whatever that main thing you're photographing, the subject, hashtag the subject. Okay? Now, if you think your photos are published, is publishable a word? I think it is. Publishable. Then you can hashtag periodicals. For instance, when I am in the field, if I'm photographing, for instance, I will always do hashtag photograph, hashtag photo, hashtag event photography. Because I want other event photographers or people that are interested in event photography to see my work in that flow. Hashtag where you want your work to go. Also, if I want Nikon to see a particular photo, then I will hashtag Nikon, hashtag Canon, I'm a Nikon camera user, or I will now say hashtag Apple. I used to say hashtag Samsung, right? And then sometimes I'll go even further and tag. If I think this is a photo I really want someone to see and they may be able to use it in a publication, I will say hashtag New Yorker, hashtag National Geographic, and I'll tag them with at National Geographic, at Nikon, at New York Times, at. These are periodicals. And so I've been in Forbes, I've been in National Geographic, I've been in the New Yorker, I've been in Interior Design Magazine, and then a bunch of other magazines here in the city, or periodicals. So I hashtag, or if I really want to like push it, I'll do the at and put them in there. Okay. Does that answer? Was that a good? Did I answer your question, Aya? Okay. TB says the blur of foreground usually gives me crazy. It drives me crazy, but I'll reframe my brain. Well, it's in how the person, or I should say, it's in how the photographer uses the foreground. Because, and we'll go into this next week, but the foreground can be used to frame your subject. You can frame your subject by using foreground and background. And then the picture of the person, like you see this, like this will be foreground, this will be background, and my face is the subject. Now, notice how my hand is blurry, this is blurry, but my face is sharp. You can use it to kind of like frame your subject. So some foreground can be irritating, but you can use it to frame your subject. You can use it for color. And this is what Janet just said, color. Like also when I do street photography, I go hashtag street photography. But I want to show you something that foreground, since you did bring that up. And I was working on a photo yesterday for my client. And I was using it for the cover. So this is, let me see, here we go. Let me see, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, so this is my work project that I was working on for a client. And I want you to see how I'm using foreground for their cover page. So this is the cover page, and I use the greenery. You see the foreground, there was some plants there on the table, and I use the foreground of the plants just to kind of give it some color and to kind of like soften the edge of this frame. So that way I'm using it to soften the floor. I didn't really want to look at the end of the table. I didn't want them to look at the edges of the bottom of, but it was a way of helping to frame their event. You see the lights are nicely lined up here. So you got the lights on the top. I want to make sure their branding was there, the name, everything was there so this would be their title page when they share it with the rest of their constituents. So I photograph. So I use foreground for that. And then the background is you see the table and plants, flowers back there and chairs. So it's kind of like trying to figure out how you want to center your subject and then frame it depending on the story you're trying to tell. Okay, does that make sense? And there's lots of photos that there's another foreground I'm using with the client. I'm using it throughout. So this is an event that I photographed just recently. So and this is an event was huge. Lots of people. And I'm using layers. I'm using people as foreground. I'm using people as background. That's how you do event photography. There's layers. Like you see, like I'm gonna go back to one of these guys. So you see, I'm using this plant in the corner to kind of like anchor her back, so that way you don't see her back. And I want to photograph him because he's the subject. So it's it's framing, it's creating your photo so that way it looks appealing. So when they see the photos, they're gonna be like, holy moly, this is a great photo. This is great shots. And there's lots of them. So this was lots of work to do every image. But I'll be finished with that today and get that over to them by the end of the day. But lots of work, right? So this is what I do as an event photographer. So I take all of these, what I shared with you guys, I take all of this information, On my camera, in my camera is the grid. I use the grid. I put my subjects on one of those 4 intersecting lines. I take and figure out how to use my foreground as a framing. How does it adjust between the foreground and the background? So you got to see my work in action. This is what my clients pay me for. I'm the expert. So I have to make sure I know all of this information. I'm not sharing with you stuff that I don't know. I'm sharing with you things that I do every single day of my life. Whether I'm in the street doing street photography with my meetup group. Oh, speaking of meetup group, you will have your announcement today, probably tomorrow. We are meeting in Times Square for this month's meetup. So we'll be doing that. Let me see what you guys are saying here, because you guys are in there. I like that. I like that. Cass says, interesting. She says, interesting to know about architecture, since always taking pictures of the skyline with various buildings or monuments. There you go. And Janet says, hashtag color, hashtag black and white. Cass says, great tips as always. B says, yes, great live examples. Janet says, you can combine items on a hashtag. Yep. Okay. Yes, I see there. And Cass says, frame subject and use for color. Dr. Tachi says, that's a good shot. So look, I'm not giving my clients no shabby stuff. I go all in when I shoot. Anthony says, one of my favorite landscape photos is a 9-shot panoramic photo of the New Orleans skyline. It goes from the Superdome to the Mississippi River. I shot it from a rooftop bar. And on these little smartphones, you can put it in pan. In your Apple phone, put it in pan, and you can get panorama. And if you have a Android, you can put it in panorama. It actually says panorama. And okay, and so there we have it. Okay, guys, I think we've done it. I think we did it. We got some answers in it. We got some Q&A. You got to see some samples. You got to see my work. I got to share with you. I got to take us to our next topic next week. So tomorrow, let me just make sure. Tomorrow, we have a special guest, the founder of a company, and he's going to share. Okay, yep. So he is going to be here tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be our Wisdom Wednesday, and we will have a special guest. Okay, so let's do that. And guys, have a great Tuesday. I hope these tips help you. I know they do. I know they did, and I know they will. So get out there and take some photos. Use those smartphones. You do not need expensive equipment to take great photos. And on that note, I'm leaving you with have a great day. Love you all. See you tomorrow. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and leave a comment on this video. I would love to hear from you. Thank you again. Until I see you next time.